My heart slammed so hard against my ribs that for a moment I thought the sound alone might give us away. The rooftop lights of the downtown hotel glowed in soft gold behind her, but her eyes were trembling storms. She leaned closer, breath catching like someone bracing for impact, and whispered the words that froze me in place. "Kiss me, please, my ex-husband is watching." I felt the air thicken, the world tilt, and something electric surged between us, fear, longing, confusion, all tangled together. And before I could stop myself, before I could even decide what was right, the reckless honesty inside me rose like a tide and spilled out silently in my stare, asking, will one kiss be enough? The moment hung between us, fragile and wild, as if that single decision could rewrite both our stories forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of a single moment to change a life, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that matter. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not at that elegant charity gala with its glittering chandeliers and jazz notes drifting through the ballroom. Not beside her, Charlotte Hale, my boss, the woman whose confidence could fill a skyline, whose presence made people straighten their posture without her even noticing. I was just an assistant who joined her company 6 months ago, still trying to learn the rhythm of her perfection-driven world. She had invited me because she said she needed another pair of eyes on the presentations and guest list details, but even then, something in the way she avoided looking directly at me suggested there was more to it. I didn't question it. I never questioned anything she asked. Charlotte had built a reputation on strength, icy, polished, fearless strength. But that night, standing on the rooftop terrace with the winter wind tugging at her silver dress, she looked nothing like the woman who dominated conference rooms with a single raised brow. Her hands were trembling. Her breathing was uneven. And when she said her ex-husband's name earlier, Daniel, I heard something crack deep inside her. I had noticed him inside the ballroom long before she did, tall, well-groomed, wearing a smirk like he'd patented it. He moved through people with the arrogance of a man who believed everything and everyone still belonged to him. When her gaze accidentally met his, her entire posture collapsed for a fraction of a second before she forced her shoulders back. That fraction was all I needed to know. Something about him had taken years from her, years she never talked about. The rooftop escape hadn't been planned, she'd simply needed air. I followed because she didn't have to ask me to. My instincts always pushed me toward her, even when I didn't understand why. But nothing could have prepared me for the moment she turned to me, eyes shining with panic she refused to name, and begged for a kiss. Not for romance. Not for thrill. But for armor. For survival. The wind bit at our skin as the city glimmered below. From the corner of my eye, I saw Daniel approaching, slow and intrusive, like someone reclaiming territory. The weight of her desperation pressed against my chest. And while part of me knew this was wrong, that I was her employee, that she was vulnerable, I also saw the truth she didn't have the strength to say out loud. She needed help. She needed someone, anyone, to stand between her and the ghost of the man who had once broken her. So I closed the remaining distance. My hand brushed the side of her arm, a touch meant not to claim, but to steady. And when I kissed her, gently at first, something inside her loosened, like a tightly wound knot finally exhaling. She clung to the moment, not for romance, but for safety. The city disappeared. The cold faded. And for a few stolen seconds, she allowed herself to lean into someone who wasn't there to hurt her. When I pulled back, she blinked rapidly, trying to bring herself back into reality. Her voice was a tremor. "Thank you," she murmured, though it sounded like a confession she didn't mean to say aloud. And for the rest of the evening, she stayed closer to me than she ever had before, almost as if afraid I might disappear and leave her exposed again. Over the next weeks, work felt different. She wasn't suddenly soft, Charlotte didn't know how to be soft, but there were cracks in her armor now visible to me alone. I would catch her staring at her computer screen longer than necessary, lost in thoughts she never intended to revisit. She worked late, often alone, until exhaustion etched itself across her face. She never talked about Daniel, but I sensed that his reappearance had rattled something unstable in her. One night, after everyone else had left the office, I found her sitting in the conference room surrounded by stacks of reports she wasn't actually reading. Her hands were clasped too tightly. Her jaw was clenched. Something inside me ached at the sight of her drowning silently in the shadows of something she wasn't ready to admit. I walked in slowly, unsure if I had the right to approach her outside of work matters. But the moment she looked up, I saw the same loneliness from the rooftop, the same silent plea she didn't dare voice. And I realized that she didn't need to. I sat beside her, close but not intrusive, offering presence instead of questions. The truth spilled out in small fragments. She told me about how her ex-husband had once been everything charming and irresistible until he wasn't. How he chipped away at her confidence with quiet cruelty masked as concern. How he walked away when she finally chose herself over the version of her he tried to shape. She spoke not like a woman seeking pity, but one finally acknowledging a wound she never had time to treat. Being her boss didn't make her immune to suffering. Being strong didn't prevent her from hurting. And being admired by everyone didn't guarantee she felt deserving of love. And through every confession, every shaky breath, something inside me shifted. I had always respected her, admired her, even feared disappointing her, but now, I understood her. And understanding made everything more dangerous. Because I had begun to care in ways I never expected. Over the next months, we fell into a rhythm that wasn't quite professional but wasn't fully personal either. She trusted me with things she didn't tell anyone else, her fears, her dreams, the pressure of leading a company while fighting memories she wanted to forget. She leaned on me without ever admitting it, and I supported her without expecting anything in return. Because when someone you care about learns to breathe again because you're there, that's enough. But then came the night everything changed again. Her ex-husband showed up at another public event, and this time, he cornered her near the entrance, smiling like he had every right to approach her. I saw her freeze, the past tightening around her like a noose. And before he could say another word, she saw me across the room. Her eyes widened, silently calling out for the same protection she once asked for on the rooftop. I didn't hesitate. I crossed the floor, slid an arm gently around her waist to anchor, not possess, and felt her lean into me as naturally as breathing. Daniel's smirk faltered. And in that moment, Charlotte realized she didn't have to pretend to be invincible around me. She could simply be human. After he left, after the tension faded, she stepped away from me and whispered something that unraveled every restraint I had been holding onto. I don't want this to be pretend anymore. It was the first time she had ever chosen vulnerability instead of control. And it was the moment I understood that what we had wasn't just comfort or protection, it was the beginning of something real, fragile, and potentially life-changing for both of us. The journey wasn't easy. Loving someone who had been broken meant learning how to be patient with their scars. There were days when she pushed me away, days when she expected me to disappear like others before me, days when she questioned whether she deserved anything gentle. But I stayed, not because she needed saving, but because she was learning how to save herself, and I wanted to walk beside her through that rediscovery. Slowly, she transformed. Her laughter returned, soft at first, then bright enough to warm rooms. Her confidence came back not as armor, but as something authentic and unshakable. She began letting go of the past, one shattered piece at a time, until the ghost of her ex-husband no longer dictated the rhythm of her heartbeat. And somewhere along the way, our connection deepened from unspoken understanding to undeniable love, a love built not on dramatic gestures, but on everyday moments that stitched her heart back together. The warmth of shared coffee on early mornings. The quiet comfort of long drives. The soft glow in her eyes when she let herself trust again. On the anniversary of the rooftop gala, she took me back to the same terrace under the same glowing city lights. Her voice trembled the way it had on that night, but this time, it wasn't fear, it was gratitude. She told me she didn't need saving anymore. She didn't need to pretend. She didn't need protection. But she still needed me, because I had become the place her heart finally felt safe. And as she leaned into me, the night wrapped around us like a gentle promise. What began as a desperate kiss had become a love neither of us expected but both of us desperately needed. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing meaningful stories to life.